Welcome back to another video tutorial on Adobe Illustrator. So for this video we're gonna do a little bit of tracing from hand-drawn images, and then we will trace it using pen tools. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is obviously to import our images right into this file. Okay, so what I always do is just that I would just drag the image from whatever location the image in, and then just drop it into the files. Alright, so that's what's happened. So technically if the image is too big, it's gonna appear big. So what we do is that we're gonna scale it down so that it's gonna be proportionate to the artboard that we're using right now. Okay, so remember, whenever you rescale in Adobe Illustrator and you want to retain the proportion, or the scale or the ratio of the image, you have to hold your shift key. Alright, so if you scale it and without holding the shift key, it will do something like this, right? I mean, it's easy for you to change the ratio of the images. So if you want to keep it at the same ratio, you're gonna have to hold down your shift buttons, and it will lock the ratio of your image, and therefore your image will stay the same ratios. Alright, okay, so before we start, we're just going to discuss about the imported images, or the imported image that we have here. Alright, so whenever you have your image, you import your image, and you have this cross across your image, it indicate that image is existing, or its existence on your file is basically a link. So it's not truly exists in your file. It's basically a link from a position that you have, or location, before you import into this file. In other words, if you delete the image from the location that you have previously, and then you open this file, it will not load. The image will not appear itself. It will have a prompt appear before it's open the file, saying that there is no link, or the link that you have in the file sort of is not exists on the location, so it cannot shows on the file. Okay, so it exists as link. When you have this cross, it's indicate that the image is as a link. Alright, so how do you want to keep the image inside the file? This means that if you keep it in the files, and then it doesn't matter what you do with the original image or the location of the image, it will still be there because it exists in the file. Okay, so how you want to change that is that you're gonna go to links tabs. If you don't have it, just go to Windows and then just try to find the links, and I'm just disable it. So links, and then it appear, it will show this. Okay, now if you have more than 2 images, for example, maybe you can just copy that. It will show, this panel will show all the link that you have on your files. Okay, so right now we only have 1 image, 1 link, and that's what it shows. Okay, so this sort of black change kind of symbol is indicate that this image exists as link in your file. And to change that, you can click on this 3 bar, and then you click on embed image, and you see that you don't have the cross anymore, and you don't have that link symbols anymore. That means this image exists on your file, inside your file, and whenever you move the original location, or the original image location, it will not affect this file. Okay, now the difference between links and embed image is that the embed image will have a larger file size, and the link, it doesn't contribute to the size of the file. For example, if you have a works and then you have a bunch of embed image in that files probably have a size of 10 megabytes, or for maybe 50 megabytes, but the one that exists as a link, it's probably under 5 megabytes, or even lesser than that. Okay, so that's the difference between embed image and link. So if you're working on something that really complex and you have a lot of images that's being imported into that single file, you might want to use the link instead of embedded image, because embed image really, you know, jack up the size of your file. Okay, so having explained that, I think we can start to trace this image. So what we're gonna use is basically the pen tools over here. Before we trace this image, we want to lock the layer of this image. Okay, that means we're gonna have more than 2 layers. So right now this image sit on layer 1, so maybe we can change the name of that layers, images, or reference image. So that means that these layers only have these things. Okay, all right, and then we're going to add new layers, and these layers will lock it. Okay, that means whatever we do, like when we draw the lines and everything, it will not affect the reference that we have here, and then we will not move the image, so the image is being locked on one particular layer. Okay, and the second layer, the layer that we will draw the lines, is basically on layer 2, and we will change the name for that, for maybe like lines. So okay, so on this layer is where we're gonna do all the tracing. Right now we're gonna trace it using pen tools. Now if before we start, notice that the function, or I would say the setting, is red fill, but then there's no stroke. We would like to change that, so I personally would always use red color strokes, and then just disable the fills so that I can see the line, the red line, and that's basically very different than the line that I have on my drawing. Okay, so I can always change the color of the line that I draw or using pen tools afterwards, but while I'll do the tracing, I will always use the red lines. Okay, so let's just start it, and then this is basically we will go through all of these lines and we will trace it together in this video. Okay, we'll start with this one. Now it's important that you guys use the right thickness of the stroke. Okay, so, just to make it comfortable for your eyes to see, so perhaps we can increase the thickness of the thickness of the stroke. Okay, so let's just go to the pen tools again. Right, you can skip the video if you want, but then I will keep this video so that it's easy for you guys to see every step that I take. Okay, so now we started to do the hair or the head. With pen tools, it's important for you to acknowledge or basically think about where where does the line start and where does it end. Okay, so for this one there is a curve, so we make a straight line first and then just hold on the alternate button, then you can turn it into curve. And if you notice that the hair has a little bit curve, there's a little bit curve over here, so you can play with the angles and then you can have like S kind of curve, I guess, right? And then you just match it with the reference image that you have. Okay, now if you happen to have this anchor at the wrong position, you know, you want to shift it a little bit to the left, you just hold your control buttons and it will change into direct selection tools. While holding the control button, you can click on it and then you can change the position of the anchor. Okay, and you can also change the handles as well. Alright, so the trick is to hold the control button down while doing it. Once you let it go back to the pen tool. So hold the control button, you change into direct selection tool, but then when you lift it up, it will change back into the pen tool. So that's how you shift between these two tools, pen tools and direct selection tools. It basically makes your works a lot faster. Okay, again, this is where the line started and this is where it's end. It's really easy for you to work on that way, and you can just go to the next anchor point, and once you have that, then you change it into a curve while holding the alternate buttons, right? Okay, and then you know that it's basically a little bit not the right shape that you want, so you can hold control and then you can adjust the handle while holding the control. Okay, same with this one, hold the control to change your tools into a direct selection tools, and then you can change that one. And we are not changing the tool right now, we just hold the control, it's automatically changed, and then you flip it up, it will go back to selection to the pen tools. Okay, so we are not going outside of the pen tools. The pen tools are always enabled. It's just that when we hold down the control button, it will change into selection tool, and that makes it easier for us to edit or to change the anchor points and everything. Okay, so let's just moving on. Right, again, to change a straight line to a curved line, you hold on into alternate buttons. So these two buttons, alternate and control, is the button that you always use occasionally, not occasionally like all the time, but with alternately, with the function that you use. So it's not just work with the pen tools, is also work with another tools as well. Once you hold down the control button, it will change into a selection button. Now another thing is that pen tool will always it always run forever, right? It doesn't stop until you create a loop, right? So how do you break it? It means like, okay, I get here and then I want to start over here, like on the completely new set of line. So what you do is you hold down the control buttons and then you click somewhere, and that would deselect the line that you work on just now, and you can basically work on a new set of lines, right? So your hand will always on your mouse, and the other hand would always stand by to click on your control buttons, right? So you just adjust the lines to basically match with your preference images, right? And then you can create a loops, or you can connect with the existing line that you just created just now, match it. Okay, right, and this one is supposed to, so again you can continue on the line that you left, and then you want this line to be to basically end on top of this line, right? So when it comes to pen tools, when you have the cursor on top of another line or existing line, especially the line that you select, it will create this kind of like a plus symbol. That means if you click on it, it will create another anchor point over there, but that's not what you want to do right now. You just want the line to end on top of this line, or at the edge of this line. So alright, how you're gonna do that is by go to the position that you want, alright, and then you notice that the line sort of disappear and it change into plus. But if you hold down your shift button, that will change into lines. Then you can have it lines on top of the other lines, and click somewhere else with your control, and then you change it into the curve, right? Then you have it. Then that's the hair. Now we're gonna do this hair over here, right? So we start over here and then end there, and then end somewhere here. Change these two into a curve, and we change this into another curve, right? And then you have your that set of hair, and then you do this. Hold on, I don't think, like, yeah, it needs to be on top of that lines. Cool. There and there. The whole thing will be a lot faster if you are familiar with the hotkey or the shortcuts, I guess. Alright, to basically to zoom in, you hold alternate and then you just play with your wheels, and then it goes zoom in, zoom out. Okay, if you don't press anything and you play with your wheel, goes up and down, but if you hold your control, it goes left and right. Yes, so that's how you sort of move your artboard. Another way is to hold down spacebar, and you will change your cursor into this hand, and then you basically can drag it everywhere you want. Right? Okay, so that's that. Let's do the eye. This eye, and then this eye. Right. So these two things is basically the blushing thingy, right? And they're supposed to be in Eclipse form, so instead of using pen tools, I'm just gonna use Eclipse tools and just create it like that. Okay, cool. And these two, I really want it to be the same size, so instead of drawing another, I would just copy and paste. So to do that, I would change into selection tools and click on this on the circle, I guess, and sorry, the ellipse. While doing that, while clicking, I would hold down my alternate buttons and then just drag it, and it will create a copy of it. Okay, and drop it where you want it, where I want it to be. Cool. Okay. All right, so that's basically how you create or how you duplicate something very quickly. You just hold down your alternate button on keyboard, and it will create another duplication, or it will duplicate the things. Okay, to undo, you could press Control Z and it will undo the whole things. Okay, now what if I want to copy this and I want it to be on the same level as this one? Okay, so what you do is that you hold down your alternate buttons, and then it will copy it, but then you don't want it to be somewhere else, you just want it to be level, like the same level. The first way is that you just move there, and then it will snap right there. You can see that purple line that's indicated is on the same level. Another way is that you hold down your shift buttons. Once you hold down your shift button, it will you will move the thing on a straight line no matter how you move your cursor, and that's technically the function of your shift button. It will it will make sure that you move whatever subject that you are moving on a straight line, whether up and down or left and right. Okay, so that's the blusher, and then we're gonna do the mouse this time. So that's the first one, and then the second one. Alright, just move it all the way back. Cool. Then we're gonna do this curve next. Again, hold your control button to work with the handles. Alright, so technically right now that's basically what you need to know about how to trace your image. So I guess I will change it into a time lapse at the moment, because pretty much that's pretty much the trick that you'll need to know. So let's just complete the whole things, and I'll talk again after I finish the whole thing. Okay, so let's just go into a time lapse mode after this. Alright, there's another thing that I always do, is that I always edit something that would appear on top first, right? So this is basically the kind of a tight thingy, and it's on top of this thing, and this thing is on top of this thing. All right, so I would always draw something on top first, because that line, where this line ended, it will depends on these lines, and therefore I gotta have to draw this line first before I draw that line. So those kind of thing makes those kind of arrangement makes it's a lot easier, right? This right here is basically a knot that you have, but I would just gonna draw it, like how it's appear itself. It doesn't matter that much. Okay, so just cross it over here and there, and come back over here, turn it into curve. I want it to be a curve, a little bit, a slight curve over here, right? And then we'll do another one at this side, another one this side. Okay, yeah. Alright, I forgot to mention that. Okay, now back again to the time lapse. Alright, there's another function I think I miss, uh, especially on working with lines, is Adobe Illustrator allow you to do this kind of thing. So what you want to do is that hold on your control button so that you change into a direct selection tools, and you select one particular anchor point, and then while holding the control buttons, you will see this little, basically little circle, and what it does is basically you can turn it into a curve. So you drag it into a curve. So instead of having like a new set of line over here just to create that little curve, I'll just use this function. Okay, so that's very useful as well, right? So another one is what you guys have over here. So this is a curve, but it's not really like like a proper curve. So let's just create a curve first. Now you see it's really hard for you to get that particular shapes, right? So the easy way to do that, or to change, or to create like a different kind of line, is that you can add an anchor point over here. So once you add an anchor point over here, it's possible for you to move it like that. Okay, and then you can have the handles, play with the handles to match with that particular curves. So sometimes when you draw one lines and then you try to create that curve, it's hard for you to get the shapes with just two set of curve, or with just one set of line. Like sometimes you need more than two lines, or and then that is where you sort of create that anchor point, right? And over here I use that function that I show you guys before this, just to create that smooth curve over there. Cool, we almost finished. Okay, so again I would just draw like the simple lines and then match the curve, matching the curve, and then same things over here. But then you see that it is not that smooth with that part, right? So again you can change it, you can play with the little circle and then just smooth it out. Right, and then it looks like that. Cool. Then we'll have to deal with this. Okay, I'm not gonna do time lapse at this point because we almost finished, and then I think this is quite complex, so I'm just gonna show you guys how I'm gonna deal with it. Okay, so what I did is just add another anchor point, so it's easy for me to move it this way, and then we have another one underneath it. Let's change it into curve. Right, that looks good. And for the line, there we have another one over here. Just drag it, and then you notice it's hard for you know, to get that shape, and then what you did is just add another anchor point, and that's it. Okay, we almost finished. Right, that should be the last line. Okay, now you notice this you know, like sharp and it goes inside. We don't want that, right? So what we do is that you just select the whole line and we change them. You know, if you don't have the function, just go back, just go to Windows and then select stroke, click on stroke, and you have this kind of function. So right now it has sharp edges kind of cap. So what you want to do is you want to change it into a round cap and also a round joint, and that will change it into rounded cap and rounded joint. See, if you go into a miter joint or sharp joint, it's gonna have that kind of things. Alright, so just change into rounded joint, and then you start it to appear something like that. And the rounded joint and rounded cap, I guess it looks more casual, and in this case it's a lot more suitable for the subject that we're using right now. Okay, the fun part here is when you finish the whole thing, and then you can disable your reference layer. So just disable the visibility, and you will only see the line, and you see the result of your tracing. Now that looks pretty cool. I think we did something wrong over here. I think we're gonna fix it. So just go into your direct selection tool so that you can change it. So this line is supposed to end there, and it's supposed to do that. Okay, so obviously we need a new anchor point, so we're gonna go to pen tools and then just add another anchor point over here, and just position it accordingly. No, hold on, I want this handle. Yeah, so sometime while working, you do want to like zoom in and zoom out, because sometimes it's hard for you to, you know, click one particular line. So it's important for you to know how to zoom in and zoom out very quickly, and get familiarized with that kind of function. And that's it. That's your characters or your image being traced using pen tools, and you have it here, right? So now this is red colors, and we're gonna change it into black colors, and all of this line is basically on your line layers. So if you want to do anything else and you don't want to mess up with this thing, you just add the new layers and just do for example, you know, like new line, and this lines is absolutely on another layers, and you can just disable it, and you still have your pretty cute ladies over here on the line layers. That's it for our tracing tutorial, and I'll see you guys on the next video then.